The days are longer, the calendar is filling up, and I want to feel as good as this beautiful summer weather. That's why I've been loving Groons. It's one daily pack of gummies that covers my greens, vitamins, and minerals, and even has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber. So I don't need to juggle a complicated wellness routine on top of everything else. They taste amazing. They're easy to toss in my bag on the go. Plus, they're vegan, gluten free, and HSA, FSA eligible for reimbursement. Save up to 52% off with promo code podcast at gruns.co. That's code podcast at gruns.co.
Hi, everybody. This is Dawn Mitchell, and welcome to Dawn of Sports. We have another great show for you this week, and I know it's the dog days of summer, but we still have some craziness to talk about with Vikings training camp kicking off. They already had an injury day one. The Twins are really kind of digging into the second half of the season, but more importantly, our guest, Max Fuller. You've heard him on KFAN's morning show on the PowerTrip. He's got the power, he's got the Afro pick, and he's got the personality, so stick around. You're going to love this show. So as I mentioned, we have Max Fuller from KFAN's PowerTrip and beyond, to be quite honest. Max Fuller. Max, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. Like I said, I kind of inebriatedly invited myself when I saw you at the KFAN room party, but I appreciate you for obliging me. It's so much fun to be here.
Well, and I remembered because I think I was the only one that hadn't had a drink because I came straight from anchoring at night. And I remember thinking, let me just make one last song or two. And I did. I got there. It was fun. And you know what? Sometimes in life, Max, you just have to show up, right? Sometimes you think, oh, I'm not gonna go. They're gonna be like the last song. No one's gonna remember. Everyone's gonna be like toasted and just tired. And that wasn't the case at all. You even remembered.
Yeah, no, it's the best, and it's kind of funny because I feel like half of the times I've ever seen you, I have been in inebriation state because I went to your birthday party and I drunkenly told Henry Lake, "Thanks for paving the way for me." Yeah, and but sometimes it's like you said, you just got to show up. That's how I actually ended up being on the PowerTrip morning show. It was just pure coincidence one day, and then we were on and popping from there.
Well, that's how you and I met, and I instantly adored you. We've had so much fun on the times that I get to go on there. And I'm always intrigued to find out how people got onto that show. And like you said, you just kind of kept showing up. But can you tell us how you first, who was your connection? How did you get in there? There's always a great story when it comes to you guys.
Well, for the PowerTrip specifically, I had been working at the Fan for a long time, kind of just doing the Saturday morning stuff, Fan outdoors, and they're talking about fishing and hunting, and I don't know nothing about that, so I couldn't chime in on that and really let my personality show. I remember one time they're like, "Max, do you want to talk?" I was like, "All I can do is tell you how to get leaves out of your afro. I don't really got a whole lot of tips on the outdoors in general." But one day, I happened to have two jobs at the time, and it wasn't like I was hiding it, but it just never came up in conversation, and I just happened to tell our program director, Chad Abbott, that I was also working as a DJ at Deja Vu, the strip club. And
stop it. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was working as a DJ at Deja Vu. And that day, I was supposed to run the board for PA, Paul Allen. And it's so crazy because he was late that day. Never been late before that day. Never been late after that day. But he was late that day that I told Abbott that. And so Abbott asked the morning show if they could stay and hang out until PA got there. And then after I told him, he's like, "Why don't you tell them what you just told me?" And I told Hockey, I said, I'm a DJ at Deja Vu. And Hockey yelled to Sauce and Corey. He goes, "Hey, scratch whatever we got. We got something new for this segment." And the whole segment, they just asked me questions about being a DJ at the strip club. And they liked it. And they invited me once a week. And then once a week turned to twice turned to thrice. And here we are, and it just kind of evolved and expanded into all the other stuff that I'm lucky enough to be able to do at the Fan.
It's exactly how you drew it up when you were a kid.
Right, exactly. Step 1, become strip club DJ. Step 2, take over the world.
Well, I love it. And here's the thing, though. Even if I had tuned in on those weekend shows where they're talking about fishing and everything, I would have loved to hear you chime in. When I worked in Chicago, I believe it was their all sports radio show at the time, and they had this guy doing traffic who I adored. It was Jerome the homie. And he gave the traffic
Great
report
name.
like you wanted to hear it. He was like, dudes, don't even go on the Kennedy. It's a parking lot out there. Like, don't even go. Like, that's the traffic update that I wanted. So I love it when people who are authentically themselves, and I know that buzzword is just thrown around so much right now, but when you can just be yourself in any situation, I think people just love it. And then you add to it, like you have, knowledge of sports, a personality, and then you're just yourself. You're the same guy on the radio than you are when you're away from the radio. And even, quite frankly, when you think you're inebriated and you're not, you're still the same great Max. So just so you know, that's what draws people to you.
I really appreciate that. I'm lucky enough to be in spaces like KFAN and like Fox 9 where people allow me to be myself, because that has not always been the case throughout my career in media, and it was difficult at times, but I'm super lucky to be surrounded by people like yourself, people like the PowerTrip Morning Show that let me be me, because I don't know how to do anything else. I'm a really bad actor, so.
No, you're not. Well, let's back up a little bit. You were and are going to be continuing, and I'm so happy about this, a contributor on Fox 9. You were lights out when we had our Timberwolves coverage, when we did our
Thank you.
streaming shows, and even when we had our specials on air. And I'm happy that you'll be doing more. How was that for you? I know you and I had a blast on the shows that we did. It's great to just, like you said, be able to show your personality, but bring people more of the information on these players that you know.
Yeah, no, it was crazy because I always kind of wanted to be in radio. The only other thing I ever wanted to be in my life was a comic book artist, but I realized you have to practice drawing to do that, and I couldn't draw my way out of a paper bag, so I had to throw that one on the show. So all I ever wanted to do was be on radio. I never imagined. I mean, I barely imagined being on the radio in and of itself, but I never imagined being able to do TV. So when you guys reached out to me, I was like, are you sure you didn't just type in MA and you meant to email this to Mark Rosen instead? Like, are you sure you meant to send this to me? But it was such a fun opportunity. And I just tried to bring my best every time, because I'm like, this is kind of like American Idol, you know? I'm trying to get my ticket to Hollywood. I'm trying to get my gold ticket. But you guys were so kind and you guys helped me out so much. And every time I'd ask Amy or I'd ask Ahmad, I'd ask one of the producers, like, hey, what can I do to get better? Like, is there anything I'm doing that you guys think that, give me constructive criticism and stuff like that? And every single time you guys all just said, just keep being yourself. And it was very, like, after the first time, I'm like, okay, they're just being nice. But after like the third or fourth time, I'm like, maybe they do just want me to be me, which is it was very surreal. And it was so much fun to be able to just hang out with a bunch of professionals like you guys, get the scoops, like, when you had the other reporters from the sister stations in Dallas and stuff like that in Denver. And it was an enlightening experience to get to see all the behind the scenes on the TV. And it was just so much fun being able to bring that energy and get hyped. Just sometimes I would walk in and I'd be, I don't know if the Timberwolves are going to win today. But as soon as the camera cut on, I'm like, come on now, the Timberwolves are going to win by 50 points. Let's go. Like, you guys just brought me so much energy, and I got to bring that energy back to you guys. And it was seriously just, I had an experience I'll never forget. Like I said, I never could have even dreamed of it.
I think that there's something like when a camera comes on, I know most of the people that listen to this might get it. Depends on your age group. But, the Brady Bunch, when Cindy Brady was on the game show, and she was super smart, right? She knew all these things. But once that red light went on for the TV, she was like mesmerized, right? Almost like Josh Allen pulled that little prank at the beginning of training camp, right? Or I think he was at a golf tournament. And someone goes, are you live? And he goes, live? And he just stared into the camera. It was hilarious. But it is different. But when you can be yourself and realize people at home, the only difference really between TV and radio is that they see you. And so you
Right.
just have to remain who you are when you have that anonymity, when you're not seen on camera. Like radio gives you that freedom where you can just kind of talk. Like TV has a little more time parameters, but if you can erase that invisible screen, and it's a literal screen that people see you on, but you still have to remember you're inside people's homes. You're in their living rooms, right? I mean, when they listen to
Yeah.
you on KFAN, they're in their cars or they're in their office or in their rooms, right? It's like an intimate, close setting. That's why they feel like they know you so well. And so I always say when you have that situation going on, people can smell fake a
Right.
mile away. So it's not cliche when we just say be yourself. It's like, don't all of a sudden be like, wherefore art thou, Timberwolves? It's like who's this dude, right?
I thought about being like that. I really did. I was like, I need to button myself up. Maybe I should get some braids or something. I don't know if the afro is for the camera. Like, I need to start speaking a little bit more properly. It was nerve wracking leading up to it for sure. But then, like I said, I was like, man, I don't even know. I couldn't win an Oscar to save my life. So I was like, I don't know how to act anything but like Max. So I just had to act like myself, and you guys helped me out along the way and helped me succeed. And it was awesome just to be a part of it.
Now, when Max was young Max, what were your dreams? I know besides being a comic book artist, like how did you even start getting into the beginnings of media, like into that weekend show, fishing and hunting and leaves in your afro? What was that leap from young Max to now?
Well, that's honestly, my teachers would tell you it was a natural pipeline of getting kicked out of class for talking too much to being on the radio. But I just always kind of what I wanted to do. I remember I used to watch. I don't know if you're familiar with the sitcom Martin, with
Yes,
Martin Lawrence, and
love
yeah,
that
he had a
show.
radio show on that show. So ever since when I was really young, I was just like, wow, that would be really cool. I watched this movie about this famous DC disc jockey, Petey Green, who like really made a difference in that community. He was in prison for a while, and then he ended up being like a huge community figure. I mean, they even like called him and enlisted him to settle down the whole like area of DC after Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. So it just kind of opened my eyes that like
Wow.
this is something that I can because I always felt very like inclined to try to use my brains and my voice to help people, and then also I love music, I love cracking jokes, so I was like I can kind of do all of that at once if I do this radio thing. And also by the time I got to 12th grade, I realized, wow, I'm not really good at anything besides talking bleep. I have no skills I can take out into the real world. I haven't practiced anything at all. All I've been trying to do is make my friends laugh for the last 18 years. So I might as well keep doing that. So I hopped on Spreaker right after high school. I was at Normandale Community College. And it was kind of before the word podcast was even a thing. And I didn't want to pre-record it. Spreaker, I went on Spreaker specifically because I'm like, I need to get better at being live. If I want to do this at the highest level, I got to be able to practice and do it live. So I started doing my own little radio show live, and a bunch of people that I know listened to it and were like, "You're really good" and everything like that. It was terrible listening back to it. I was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe anybody ever enjoyed this." It was the worst thing that's ever bounced off of my eardrums, but. Eventually, I made my way to the U. Luckily, that first day, I saw a flyer for Radio K. Joined Radio K pretty much that first day, and I was doing DJing on the radio. And I worked for this program. It was called Culture Q at the time, and it was basically like an NPR style program where we would go out and we'd come up with a story. We'd go out and get the interviews, and then we'd put it all together like an NPR style story. And that really also helped me open my eyes, and I got to talk to it was some of the wildest experiences I've ever had. I met a black dude that hosted a pro Confederate flag rally. I went on a ghost hunt with some Ghostbusters. I hung out. I went on a patrol with this guy who is a real life superhero, full costume and everything. And he goes out and he helps homeless people and quote unquote fights crime and stuff. And so I got to just meet all these different kinds of people from all these different walks of life, and that really just helped me hone my skills. And being on the radio I mean, you can ask Sarah Lemanchuk, the program director. I was on the radio every single day, much to her chagrin, but I was just trying to get my reps, and I was addicted to it. Like I truly look at it as a craft, as an art form. And so I was a janitor for a long time, and not, it's honorable work, it's backbreaking work, but I was lucky enough that I could have just put my headphones in and study. I'd listen to all these old radio programs from Sam Spade detective stories from the 1950s
Wow.
radio dramas to Howard Stern and The Breakfast Club and the more modern kind of classics and modern kind of greats. So I just sat there and I studied because I'm like, this is an art. This is something I want to get better at. I took it as a craft. I would listen back to myself, which is like hearing nails on a chalkboard. I hate the sound of my own voice, much to that would surprise some people because I think most people assume people in radio love the sound of their own voice. I cannot stand the sound of my own voice, but I had to get through it so I could get better. It's just something that and it's all I got. Like I said, I'm not good at anything else. So I was like, I gotta get good at this because I love it. I want to do it, and also because I was a father at a really young age. You know what I'm saying? Like I had my daughter when I was 19 years old. I was like, I got to put food on the table. So if this is the one thing that I'm good at, then I got to get really good at it. And I might not be the most talented, but I got to outwork everybody else. And so I've just been trying to work hard this whole time. And luckily, one path led me to another, and I ended up at iHeartRadio, and then eventually ended up at KFAN.
Well, first of all, I want to give kudos to you for people think, oh, they just roll out of school or they roll out of high school and they hit the radio. Like the work you have to do to become what
Right.
people think is like the overnight sensation, right? It's all a build up, but to also have a child at 19 and to be a girl dad and to embrace all of that, I think that that's amazing. And I think a lot of people have to realize, like, yes, I'm going to do whatever work I can, but I'm also going to follow my passion at the same time. It just doesn't happen like, oh, hand me a spot, probably 9 to noon at KFAN. Like, that's already taken. And I know you just graduated from college, kid, or, or wherever, high school. And it's a path that I'm so glad that you brought that up because it is a journey, isn't it? And it is a craft.
Yeah. It's been a long. In September, I've been doing radio actually over real life airwaves for 10 years. But a lot of
Nice.
people, like you said, the overnight thing. They're like people with. I got a lot of notoriety from the Timberwolves stuff over the last couple months, and people are like, "Well, Max just came out of nowhere." I was like, "Oh, I did not come out of nowhere. Let me tell
Like I
you
did
that.
the work.
I've been grinding my ass off. I mean, just check this. My pants are sagging. I got no ass. I'm grinding my ass off to get to where I am today. And I mean, I've just got on the ladder, I still got a lot more climbing to do, but it's been a hell of a journey, and it's been so much fun. And I'll never forget all the experiences that I've been able to make over these last 10 years. And hopefully it can last forever because it's something that I want to keep doing with the rest of my life, no matter if I'm getting paid, if I'm not getting paid. Radio is just something it's in my soul now. It's part of who I am.
Absolutely. And when you talk about not liking your voice, it's a journey, right? It's a journey with seeing yourself as a commodity and hearing yourself as a commodity. The first time you had to leave like your voicemail, right? Thank God there's that now generic voice that goes, you've reached the
Right.
number, whatever. But when you had to like leave yours, like I would record mine 12 times and it's just like, hi, it's Dawn, leave a message. And I just hated it, right? I didn't like my voice. Well, couple of years ago, and I think it was right after we got back from the lockdown and all that stuff, and I'm walking through the hallway by the edit bays, and I'm hearing a voice, and I don't recognize the words, right? Like I didn't record it, and so I popped my head in and I go, that woman's voice sounds like me. And the editor goes, that is you. And I go, what? No, it's not. And they go, it is, but you recorded it before COVID, but it's still good. Like, so we're going to use it now. And I was like, oh my God. They're like, you don't even know your own voice. I go, no, I knew enough that woman, quote unquote, sounded like me. Like I can view myself now as an object. You can step outside yourself and
Yeah.
see yourself like that's how I sound. That's kind of my like you looked at yourself objectively. It's hard to explain to people when you see yourself and hear yourself so much on TV and on the radio. You can now see yourself as that person. It's kind of weird. I don't know if you've experienced that.
No, 100%. It's super weird. Like I infinitely love live radio more than podcasting because I'm like I'll sit and re-record the same thing like 30 times because nope, I said the wrong. It's like, oh, I took a weird breath right here. Like, oh my God, nobody can understand me. Whereas live radio, it's kind of like how they say about quarterbacking. It's kind of you make a mistake, you got to move on right away because the show goes on. So I infinitely like live radio more than podcasting. And yeah, it's like you said, it's weird. The first time I still get kind of weirded out because I just started kind of doing more commercials and stuff like that. So hearing myself, I'm like, oh my God, that's me. And I'm like, how the hell do people say I got a voice for radio? I sound like Kermit the Frog or something. This is terrible.
You do not.
But it's But it is a journey. It is a journey to get used to it and see yourself kind of as part of this whole thing. Like it's weird. Like I'm just a small part, but still being a part of this whole thing. Even like we said, bringing it back to the Rube party. It's like being in the audience and people are, Max, can I take a picture with you? I'm like, dude, I make like minimum wage. Why do you want to take a picture with me? Like I'm just
But
a fill-in producer, But that's just that's just part of this whole thing. I'm being a part of KFAN and the stratosphere that surrounds it, and it's always going to be surreal to me to be stopped in public or people just saying what up to you. And it's like you said, because it's such an intimate thing. We're in people's homes and cars and, on their walks with them and everything, that people feel like they know you. So people will just come up to me like, what's up, Max? And I'll shake their hand. And my friends will be like, you know that guy? I'll be like, never seen him a day in my life.
Never before.
Ready for a women-forward car dealership? Rudy Luther Toyota empowers their many women on staff in sales, management, and service. Whether you are looking for a new Toyota or pre-owned vehicle, Rudy Luther Toyota has something for everyone. Every vehicle comes with a Luther Advantage. 10 cents off fuel and car wash discounts at holiday stations, Luther Advantage warranty, and 5-day return policy on pre-owned vehicles. Located just 5 minutes west of downtown Minneapolis, off 394 and General Mills Boulevard. And they're also hiring. Want to join the team but don't know where to start? Visit rudyluthertoyota.com today.
The greatest thing, too, is you are, because you've been, as you say, grinding for so long, right? I don't think you realize the people that are now looking up to you. Like, wow, if there's a guy that looks like me, there's Max, now that they're seeing your picture and stuff, right? Like, I can do that too. And it's not I always say, people like, what's that burden like, Dawn, when you carry it for women? I go, it's not a burden. I go, I think it's awesome.
Right.
That you can reach your hand back and help someone lift someone else up. So now you have to come to terms with that, my friend.
No, it's crazy. I already had some people sending me pictures of their kids. Like, yeah, like that. There was a kid, specifically someone on Twitter. The kid had a giant afro, and they said they were so excited to see someone else that looked like them. And I've had multiple people kind of hit me up with similar sentiments. And I honestly it brought me to tears because I didn't have a lot of that growing up. Like the two people that I named to you that inspired me to get into radio are, it was from movies and TV. Like there was no black person to listen to on the radio around for me to think that I could do this, or even watching a TV show or something like that. There wasn't this emphasis on diversity like there is today. So it's just, especially in Minneapolis, I mean, it's as white can be. So it's there's not a whole lot of us, and it is something that you have to kind of be cognizant of. It's like, okay, I'm not only just representing myself, whether for good or for bad, I'm kind of representing all of us. And so I have to bring a little bit extra. And also, like, if I can help somebody, lift somebody up, then I want to do that. Because once I got to the fan, I was lucky enough to have, a million mentors. Everybody there has taught me so much. I just sit at their knee and learn as much as possible. But outside of the fan, I didn't have a whole lot of people that helped me up, when I was coming up. So I want to be that person. So anytime anybody ever, hey, Max, can I come watch it? Yeah, of course. I'll give you a cheat sheet. I'll give you a step-by-step video on YouTube if you want me to. Like, I want to help as many people as possible because I was them not that long ago, and I'm not that far from being them now. So I try to help as many people as possible. But yeah, it is a weird thing knowing that there are people that are like, kind of looking to me as someone, as like it's someone as an example of something that they can be, which is just mind blowing. Hopefully they can do better than that. I only make $15 an hour, but it just in general, it's very surreal to me, and it's something that I'm not quite used to yet, but it's something that I take on the mantle with pride.
Well, when I was in college, my professor in the communications department at Boston College, loved him, Bob Fishman. He's still there. He said, listen, you're going to graduate, and a lot of your friends, the first 5 years, are going to be making a lot of money. If they decide to, go into advertising or go to law school and be a lawyer, like their first 5 years of earning might discourage you if you go into communications and or you're a writer, radio, TV. And he said, but there's something that happens like between year 5 and 7 out of school that you're going to see happen. And I didn't believe him at first, and then it did. He said they're not going to be happy because that wasn't their passion. Some of them they are, and they'll be happy being lawyers or, making the big bucks. He said, but they'll be like, they'll come to you and they won't be happy. And then that's right when you start making some money. Now, you may not ever get rich and be a millionaire. You're not going to make the money that the athletes that you're covering are making, but you're going to make money to live, and you're still going to enjoy what you do every day. I mean, yes, there's going to be things that come with the job that are, job stuff. And I'm telling you, probably, maybe between that sweet spot of 5 and 7 years out of school, I'm just starting to, no, it's still, I'm not even going to say how little I made, or I will. I'm just going to come out and say it. My first full-time on-air job was $33,000 a year. And I remember it was 33.3, right? Because I got 3 weeks vacation. I didn't know any better, right? That was my first full-time on-air job. So, but I had a friend of mine who was a lawyer who called me up and said, my passion was always, I want to be a play-by-play guy. And I said, well, but you're a lawyer now. You're married. Like, you have a BMW and a house. Like me, I was still living with 5 roommates, right? And he said, yeah, but I'm not, I don't love it. And he said, so what can I do? And he said, I need to get in there. How did you do it? And I said, well, I interned for nothing, and then I worked 5 separate jobs. I would work from 7 in the morning to 10 o'clock at night, probably 7 days a week, doing 3 different jobs. Before I got my full time, I didn't even want to be on air. I was behind the scenes. And he was like, what? I said, yeah, you'll probably lose your wife, have to sell your car and your house. And so I remember thinking Bob Fishman was right. He was absolutely right. So I always tell people, listen, follow your dreams and do them early, right? Because sometimes you might get stuck, what they call them the golden handcuffs, right? Because that's how you do it. And you're never an overnight sensation. It's always like, well, yeah, I've been in the business 5 years. This is my first on-air job. And the reason I got my first full-time on-air job, I was writing everything and giving it to everyone else to read. And this woman, Amy Stone, I adore her to this day. She kind of fibbed a little. She said, hey, do you have a on-air tape? And I was behind the scenes. And I was like, no. I'll go, I did one when I was an intern. I interned at WBZ. We had to do that for our internship. She goes, can I just look at it? I have a cousin or something that's thinking of doing it. Well, no, she gave it to my boss because she knew she was leaving. We didn't know any of this. And so they had a show called Sports Desk, and then they did it on the weekends. And they called me, and I was working like the College World Series with CBS, behind the scenes stage manager. And I remember getting that first phone call in the production trailers as I'm working with CBS, and I get the phone call saying, hey, we want to do this weekend show. Do you want to do it? And I said, great. You want me to write it and produce it? And they said, and anchor. And I was like, what?
Whoa.
I walked out of that production trailer dazed. Greg Gumbel and Leslie Visser were working it, and they kind of pulled up and they're like, hey, they rolled down the windows. Are you okay? And I said, I think I just got an on-air job. And they're like, what? Because Leslie was pushing that, so it doesn't. Yeah. So I always say to people, listen, I did not have a dream I'm going to be on air and I'm going to be a reporter. I just liked sports and I liked television, and I interned and I got behind the scenes. The next thing you know, they were like, oh, you should be in front of the camera. That's how it happened. Know your stuff first. But then I always had a passion for it. And then you just learn the intricacies of being on air. So I tell people, if you want to be on air, go for it right away. Go for it right away.
Seriously, though.
That's what you have to do.
I totally understand what you're saying, because it's that was one of the things that I weighed. It was I could do something else. I think I'm a pretty smart kid. I could go be a lawyer or a doctor or something if I wanted to, but I'd be miserable. I'd be so miserable if I did that. I want to do something that I can feel a passion for, that's different every day, that brings me something more than just financial compensation. Because as I was growing up, I saw kind of that, that dismal look in some adults' eyes, that just cold stare where they're not happy and they're locked in. Like you said, it's handcuffs. It's a golden jail cell. You're locked into this for the rest of your life. And I'm like, man, that it scared the heck out of me. I had friends like that. I had family like that, and just seeing people on the streets like that. And so like you said, I've done a million jobs. I've been a janitor. I've worked at UPS. I've worked at Applebee's. I've quit more jobs than I could even. I mean, we'd have to have a whole nother podcast if I told you about all the stories about all the
Max's
jobs I've had
jobs.
to quit. Yeah, and I've had opportunities to have more higher paying things, but radio is what I love. And even when I wasn't working at iHeart, I was volunteering at KFAI for free. Like that. This is if and God forbid something bad happens, I'll go right back to volunteering somewhere for free because this is in my soul now at this point. It's not something that I want. I'm in it for the money, clearly.
Right.
But if you saw my apartment, you would understand that. But it's something more than that. It brings me something more than that. It's a part of my soul, and it's just such a satisfying thing to be able to do. And every single day I think about how lucky I am that I'm able to be in the position that I'm in. So it's not really about the money to me. It's just about dreaming and doing something more fulfilling.
Oh, that is awesome. And what would be your then biggest piece of advice for like someone that comes up to you and like, Max, I want to be just like you. Like, how do I do it? What would be your biggest piece of advice?
Well, I'd say aim higher, first of all,
Oh,
but
stop.
I would, I would just say make sure this is something that you really can do for the long haul. Because I've had scores and scores of people ask me about tips for starting a podcast, or I have this and that idea. Can you help me with this and this? And it's kind of like you said. I think a lot of people assume you can just roll out of bed and turn on a microphone and voila, all of a sudden you're doing ad reads for BetterHelp or something like that. But it doesn't work like that. I think a lot of people think they have a lot more to say than they do.
Hmm.
Like I heard a story one time from one of my coworkers that they had a listener that constantly was like, I could do better than this, I could do better than this, I could do better than this. And so finally one day they let him on the radio and he was sweating bullets and almost crapping his pants after one segment, So it's like make sure that this
Hmm.
is something that you can do in a sustained way and make sure that you're in it for something. If you got your eyes on the stars and you got your eyes on glory and stuff like that, this is not the business to be in, because you're going to have to work hard. You're going to have to work on holidays. You're going to have to work for next to no pay. You're going to have some older coworkers that are going to insist that you pay your dues in whatever way that entails. So it's just make sure this is really something that gives you something satisfying in your soul, because otherwise it can be a pretty backbreaking and soul wrenching experience sometimes, dealing with the people that you're dealing with, and sometimes even just dealing with listeners. Like make sure you have the heart for it, emotionally, financially, spiritually, mentally, whatever, because there's a lot more that comes with it than meets the eye, I would say. So I would just say be ready to do a lot of extra work, be ready to not be thanked all the time, be ready to be behind the scenes for a long time before you can ever get in front of a microphone or a camera. And if that's really what you love, you'll be willing to do anything for it. But if you're just seeking the attention, I don't know, go buy a dog or something, like, it's just because I think a lot of people, like, I even know some people in the radio business that this is not a craft for them. It's just a means of getting some attention. It's a means of getting money. But to me, it's a craft. It's an art form, and you got to treat it like any other art form, and you got to come to it with a little bit of soul.
Well, amen, Max Fuller. You are an artwork, and you do have soul, and I am so proud to see you flourish. I'm so excited to work with you in the future on any projects that come along. And just so I'm putting this out there, because you always say, "Well, I wasn't really." You're invited to every single thing we do. And
Oh,
Jim
well, thank
Suhan's
you.
band is playing Friday, August 9th at Glicks again.
Oh, oh,
So
I would love to see
just
the
so you
Suhan band
know,
again.
you're not getting the Henry Lake backdoor invitation. You have an open invitation to everything. Okay?
Well, seriously, I really appreciate that, Don, and I appreciate you letting me come on your podcast and just all the help that you've given me and all the support you've given me. You've been nothing but positive and uplifting, and it's coming from someone that's professional and does as awesome work as you. It means the world to me. Like it's very surreal to me to be able to rub elbows with people like you. So thank you.
Well, always in your corner. I know you know boxing and fighting. We didn't even get to that, but I'm always in your corner.
I appreciate you. Actually, speaking of that, I am. I'll extend an invite back to you. I'm hosting a topless cage fight at Spearmint Rhino in September. So open invitation to you as well, Don Mitchell, if you want to show up to the topless cage fight at the Rhino. I'll leave a spot for you at the VIP table.
That is the best invitation I think I've ever received in my entire life. Thank you so much. And that's a perfect way to end this podcast.
Thanks, Don.
Max, thank you so much. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Bye.